Hey there, it's Dr. Porter, the Austin Love Doctor, and I wanted to talk to you about birth control pills and libido and testosterone. Because this is a conversation that in 20 years of using birth control pills, no physician ever had with me, ever. And most of the people that come in here, their physician never had this conversation with them. So, birth control pills are great for preventing pregnancy. They work well. I mean, they kept me from getting pregnant all those years. If you take them regularly, and they're cheap. So there's lots of good benefits to birth control pills. I'm not discounting those at all. And there's some other health benefits to having estrogen on board too. But specifically related to your libido, birth control pills for some women can be just a disaster. And here's why. So the main way that birth control pills work is that they're a combination, most of them, of estrogen and progesterone. So what they do is they kind of trick your body into thinking that you're pregnant. Well, what happens when you're pregnant? You don't ovulate because you don't need to make an egg because you already have a baby. So they basically suppress ovulation. And when you don't ovulate, you don't have the same physiologic changes in your body that happen when you ovulate. So one of those things is lubrication. So normally when women ovulate, they'll have like cervical mucus that is way more slippery, so the sperm can kind of like get where they need to go. And so that's why when women go off the pill or they do natural family planning, they'll have people kind of check and see what their lubrication is like as an indicator of whether they're ovulating. So if you're not ovulating, you're going to be drier, period. And that's just physiologic. The other thing that they do to women during the menstrual cycle is they prevent you from having a surge in testosterone. So when our creator made us, he wanted us when we ovulate to be wet and horny, like super wet, super horny. That way we would not die out as a breed. It makes sense, right? So if you're wet and horny, then you're going to have more sex. Coincidentally, you're ovulating, odds are you're going to get pregnant. So if you don't ovulate, you don't have a testosterone spike. And so you're not horny that time of the month when you're ovulating. So those are like a couple ways that they affect your sex life. The other way they'll affect your libido is that they suppress the amount of testosterone that your ovaries make. And that has to do with the fact that your estrogen is made from testosterone. And so you don't need to make as much estrogen when you're supplementing with estrogen, which is what's in birth control pills. So they suppress your amount of testosterone you make, and that's responsible for a lot of libido. It also has mood, brain fog, calming hormones. There's lots of other things that happen with testosterone, but we're talking libido here. And then the last thing that they do is you have a hormone called sex hormone binding globulin, HSBG. And what birth control pills do is they increase the amount of sex hormone binding globulin that you have. So what that does is it's like adding insult to injury. So now you have a little bit less testosterone than you normally would have, and then they're going to bind it all up. So like I call that cock blocking. It's literally you're like not being horny because your testosterone is getting bound up, and then your receptors can't recognize the testosterone. So that also affects your orgasm. Does this sound familiar to anyone? So you're not horny, you're not wet, and you don't have good orgasms, which then don't make you want to have more sex. So if you're trying not to get pregnant, I think not having sex is a great way. Not having good sex is a great way. So stay on your birth control pills. If you're wanting to not have children anymore, there are other methods of birth control. There's IUDs, the progesterone one, the Mirena, there's the copper one, and your husband can go get a vasectomy. Honestly, if you had a few kids and you guys are done, that's the least he could do for you. But that's a conversation that you'll have to come into the office to have with me. It was my third date question. It was like, the first date was, are you normal? The second date was, okay, let's dive in a little bit more. And the third date was, would you get a vasectomy if I had 3 children for you? And if they said no, I was like, thank you, have a nice life. Because to me, that meant that I just told you, you wanted kids, that was date 2. I just had 3 kids for you and delivered all these babies, and you won't go get a 15-minute office procedure? Like, what kind of a jerk are you? You're probably not my kind of man. So it was like a third date screening question for me. So if you need a referral for a urologist, I have a great one, but that's it. If you have questions, let me know. One last thing is I was going to tell you that even if you get off the pill, which you should, that you might not have normalcy for like 3 to 4 months afterward, because they've done studies that showed that if you stop the pill, that your sex hormone binding globulin will still be increased for up to 4 months or so afterward. So it's not like magic just to stop, but it's a good start. Testosterone supplementation is also a good start. Anyway, that's it. Call me if you need me.